Welcome to the Scott Emo Show. I'm your resident DJ, DJ Ty. Spinning live tunes and good vibes all night long. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Without further ado, let's get the hands together for our host, Scott Emo!
The Scott Emo Show. How's everyone doing tonight? Yeah! Oh, man, if this energy keeps up, we're gonna crush it. I see some new faces, so thank you for joining me on a journey to discover people, places, and moments that offer transformative experiences. Tonight's show is all about perseverance. We have so much to show you guys. We have a Harlem Shake video, we got a Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth special video, and we'll meet our two amazing guests. First, Carrie Schindler, who is the co-founder and executive director of our charity partner, Dare to Try. And we have three-time para-triathlon world champion and Paralympian Melissa Stockwell on the show. And we'll end tonight's show with a killer performance from David Prusina. So if you're ready for tonight's show, let me hear you say, oh yeah! Oh yeah! Without further ado, let me introduce you to our one-man band, DJ Ty! What's up, baby?
How you feeling, baby?
Are good. Episode 4, can't believe it. It's just like time flies.
Oh my God, time flies by. We're having so much fun. You're putting so much work, you know?
Yeah, we grind it.
We grind it every day.
So I don't know if we are. I don't know if everyone knows this, but Ty and I teamed up with an intramural basketball team that's helping raise awareness and funds for a Chicago public school. The school's called Jenner. So we're helping them with each game that we're playing. We're donating proceeds to their school so they can continue getting funded and education is still in place for the students. So what we did to have a good time, in addition to raising money, is we shot a Harlem Shake video. So what'd you think about that video, Todd?
That video was so amazing. As you guys will see, the kids go wild.
Hey, you guys want to see the video? Do you want to see the video?
Yeah!
So without further ado, Harlem Shake, Say Jenner 2013.
Con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Yes, that is Ty's outfit. He's crazy. So one thing we did realize is we had so much fun shooting the video and participating with Jenner. But the other side of it is that we realized how fortunate we are to wake up every day without any physical limitations. But not everybody is as blessed as we are. And so before we meet our first guest, we had an opportunity to interview Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, and she had a few words that she wanted to share with you guys. So, let's roll the tape. I'm here with Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, who unfortunately couldn't make it to tonight's show, but she was gracious enough with her time to help us raise awareness to our charity partner, Dare to Try, and to share her life experiences with us being an amputee.
How are you doing today, Tammy? Welcome to the Scott Emo Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So let's start off from the beginning. Your grandfather and your father served in the armed forces. What inspired you to follow their footsteps and join the Army?
Well, I never intended to follow in the footsteps. You know, my brother was the one who was destined for military service, and I had wanted to join the Foreign Service and work in our embassies around the world.
Right.
I love to travel, and so that was going to be my future. But I took some ROTC classes just to learn more about the military, and I fell in love with the military. I fell in love with the Army, with the discipline, with the challenges, with the trust in one another, the fact that it didn't matter who you were, where you came from. If you were willing to work hard for the mission and you were willing to support your unit, that's all that mattered.
So
and
did
I
it
fell
matter?
in love with that.
Didn't
Yeah.
matter if you were male or female?
It didn't matter if you were male or female. It just mattered, can you get the job done?
Right.
And it's one of the few places in our society where women get equal pay for equal work.
That's cool.
A female second lieutenant makes exactly the same amount of money as a male second lieutenant. So it's very much a meritocracy.
Very nice. So take us back to the day where you lost your legs during combat. What happened?
I was flying. I'd been in Iraq at this point for 8 months. Just a regular routine mission. We had flown an entire day's worth of missions. And it was really at the end of the day, we were headed home. And then we got a call to detour. And on our way back from the detours, when we flew into an ambush, we were in the air when the insurgents basically shot everything they had up into the air. We were hit first with small arms fire, and then the rocket-propelled grenade actually exploded in my lap.
In your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Were you actually flying in the helicopter?
Yep, we were flying, yeah.
Did the helicopter crash?
Nope, we landed the aircraft.
Wow.
The aircraft managed to stay together long enough, and we were able to land it, and then I passed out.
Then you paid. So what do you remember from that time? Anything?
So I have memories. My memories are more like snapshots.
Yeah.
I don't remember entire dialogues. I remember the instrument panel of the aircraft because I was trying so hard to keep flying and to keep the aircraft together.
Wait, you were flying while
I was
the bomb
trying
exploded.
Dan Milberg, the other pilot in the aircraft, the pilot in command, he was doing all the flying, but I didn't know that he wasn't hurt, and I thought he was hurt, and he knew I was hurt,
Yeah.
and so we were both trying to fly the aircraft, and I was just trying to make sure that we got the aircraft on the ground, and so I have snapshots of the landing area that we landed in, and seeing it, and the instrument panel,
Yeah.
and so I have a lot of those types of flashes of memory.
Yeah. So you, besides the obvious physical challenges that come with being an amputee, I mean, how did you cope with it emotionally and mentally? Like, how did you deal with, I'm never going to be able to walk again?
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple of different things. I mean, I do walk. I just walk with prosthesis.
Right.
And for me, I didn't go through that emotional reaction to being an amputee. My emotional reaction was to waking up and I heard doctors and nurses talking about a helicopter crash. And to a pilot, a crash is very different than an emergency landing.
Yeah.
A crash implies that I screwed up.
Yeah.
Right? And I knew that other people were hurt in my aircraft. And so I was absolutely devastated. And I thought that I had crashed the aircraft because the last thing I remember was trying to land it and trying to fight the fires. And so I was devastated at my failure as a pilot, as a soldier, as a crew member. And then later when I found out that no, actually, I kept flying until I literally passed out.
That is unbelievable.
I've been fine ever since.
Unbelievable
I've been
dedication.
fine ever since. Yeah. Well, I think every service member does it. It's everyone in my crew did it.
Right.
And so for me, knowing that has been very freeing.
Yeah.
Because I know that when push came to shove, I did what I was supposed to do. And so compared to that, losing my legs is like, it was combat. At least I didn't die.
Correct.
Right?
That's a good perspective to take on it.
I've been fine. Life is a lot harder. There are many more challenges. There are a lot of things that I can't do now that I could do before. But I've learned to do the same things in different ways. I still travel, but I have to travel with a wheelchair, and
Sure.
it takes extra planning. I still fly. It's a little bit different, but I'm still flying. So it's about adapting and adjusting your life to what you want to do.
There must be a lot of expenses that come with getting prosthetics and also the hospital bills. What's the government doing right now to help veterans and help fund the health care for veterans that do lose limbs in combat?
Well, I haven't seen a single bill. My entire health care is paid for by the American taxpayers. This country has been very good with keeping her promises to me. From the minute I was hurt to this day, I don't have to, I don't have, the VA buys my wheelchairs. I've never had a medical bill. So I have experienced the very best medicine and the very best rehabilitation and the very best equipment needed to live as full a life as I choose to live.
Sure.
And part of that is the freedom from worrying about, can I really afford that other wheelchair that would make my life simpler?
Right.
Because if I can demonstrate that I need it, the VA will get it for me.
So what about other people that aren't in the political kind of realm? Someone like Melissa Stockwell, for example.
All of us are.
So,
it has nothing to do with political realm.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
So it's for every consumer
It's
or every veteran?
Every veteran that has a service-connected disability is cared for.
That's amazing. Congrats. That's so cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
So what's one vice Tammy Duckworth has?
Gosh, what's my one vice? I probably love to eat too much. I'm a foodie, so I love trying out restaurants, and I love hole in the walls.
So what's one food you can't resist?
One food, ice cream. I'm a big ice cream junkie. Yeah,
I love ice cream too.
Anything frozen and cold. So ice cream, frozen yogurt, anything like that.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, thank you, Tammy, for coming on. We really appreciate your time. And before we sign off, is there anything you would like to say to the people watching in the audience, and also our two guests, Melissa Stockwell and Carrie Schindler from Dare to Try?
Well, you've got some great people there. Melissa Stockwell is my hero, my good friend. She, in fact, visited me in the hospital when I was, even before I woke up, she'd been in to visit my family and give them hope. So she's been doing this for a long time. And she's been talking to me about coming out and trying a triathlon with her. I'm a little bit chicken, but anybody can do it. Melissa can. She actually made my left leg for me. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
So it's just about trying. It's accepting that your life is different, and having the courage to go out and being willing to fall. But maybe you do get to run.
Right.
In the process, yeah.
Beautiful life lesson. Everybody, Tammy Duckworth, Congresswoman, leader, activist, wonderful person. What an amazing story. Thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful, wonderful trip to Washington.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with our first guest, Carrie Schindler. You're watching The Scott Emo Show. Welcome back. Our first guest, at the very wise age of 12, told her dad that she wanted to help people who lost their legs learn how to ski. It's quite a passion to have. So without further ado, please put your hands together and give a warm Scott Emo Show welcome to Carrie Schindler! So there's two songs that Carrie likes. Jason Mraz, and what's the other one? This is how we do it. Carrie, so thank you for coming on the show. Again, she is the co-founder and the executive director of Dare to Try. And let's start off with what Dare to Try is.
Dare to Try is a paratriathlon club. So our goal is to get athletes, kids, adults, and injured service members who have either a physical disability or a visual impairment involved in the sport of triathlon. So getting them swimming, biking, and running, and involved in community events.
That's awesome. So when I said in the beginning of your intro, at the age of 12, you told your dad that you wanted to help people that lost a limb. How did you know what you wanted to do really at such a young age?
I always, even as young as elementary school, volunteered to be a peer buddy for students with special needs, and we had lunch with them once a week and spent recess with them. Really always enjoyed that, and I grew up going to summer camp and loved water skiing, and I thought everybody should have this opportunity, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to teach somebody who doesn't have any legs how to do this?
How did that come about? I feel like that's a very unique thing to emerge. I mean, really, it's the nicest thing that I've ever heard. But how did that thought come to you?
I think I just there were kids that had disabilities in my grade and in my school, and they often were sitting on the sidelines and not able to participate fully in a lot of the activities that were going on, whether it was at recess or during physical education. And I thought, my passion at the time was water skiing, and I thought everybody should be able to do it, and there's got to be a way to teach people who have limitations.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. So what's the number one cause of people losing a limb?
Diabetes is probably the number one cause, I would say, of individuals who have an amputation.
Okay.
And then with the current conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan, there are many men and women coming back that have lost multiple limbs. 2, 3, there are quadruple amputees and things like that. But I think over time, and it's probably diabetes is the main cause of limb loss.
Okay, so that brings us to really good segue. So Melissa, who's a friend of yours and also the co-founder, aka Rockstar, she was in Iraq. Her Humvee ran over an IED. How did you guys sync up? How did you two, right? It seems like two perfect worlds colliding all at once. How did you guys meet?
Actually, a third friend of ours, Susan Katz, was sort of the connector for Melissa and I. Melissa and Susan had done a 5-day hand cycle ride across the state of Alaska. And at the time, Susan was living in Colorado, and she came to visit me here in Chicago, and she said, I'm going to invite my friend who I did this hand cycle ride out for dinner with us.
Nice.
And as soon as Melissa and I met, friendship was formed. We started training together, biking together, running together, and then kind of the dream of Dare to Try came about shortly after that with a third partner, Daniel Tan, who works also in adaptive sports.
So adaptive sports is obviously a very difficult field to be in. One, probably on the emotional and obviously the physical side. What's the current state of the prosthetic technology?
I would say it's constantly evolving. It's always changing. There are always new things coming about. With all of the amputees that have come out of the current conflict, there's been a lot of money and a lot of focus, a lot of research put into prosthetics, and so there's been a lot of new developments there. The computer systems in the prosthetic legs for those that are missing their legs above the knee have come a long way.
So when you say computer systems, break down to me what that means.
So typically when you're discussing somebody who's an amputee, you talk about where they've lost the limb from. So it's
Okay.
either above the knee or below the knee,
Okay.
or above the elbow, below the elbow. Is
Okay.
kind of how we distinguish them. And an individual who's an above the knee amputee, like Melissa, they actually have a computer chip that is in the knee joint of their prosthetic limb that can allow them to change their gait, go upstairs, downstairs, up ramps, and adjust
Wow.
for different surfaces if they're walking on sand or
Yeah.
grass or asphalt.
So kind of like a 4x4 or like a 4x2. No? So, so not only do you guys help out with the prosthetics, how do you guys get involved with the emotional side? I feel like people who lose a limb have to deal with this emotional component. How do you guys help get them through that part of their recovery process, essentially?
Everybody kind of goes on the journey, whether they were born with a disability and then they learn to accept that, or whether they suffer an accident, disease, whatever, and find themselves missing a limb or paralyzed or whatever, and they sort of go through that grieving process. And I think what we try to do with Dare to Try is to show them that there are still so many possibilities available to them, and doing that through sports and giving them the opportunity to be physically active, to set a goal and cross the finish line and reach that goal, and to be able to do that alongside their peers, their friends, their family, really kind of gives them back that part of their life that they were afraid that maybe they we're going to miss out on. So we work with individuals that were athletes before they were injured,
Yeah.
and then we've got people that maybe didn't really quite see themselves as an athlete
Yeah.
before, and then they kind of find a new identity
That's
through
awesome.
athletics.
Are so you guys considered more a coach?
Yeah, yep. So we work with the athletes one-on-one. We coach them, we instruct them, we help them figure out what's realistic, what do they need to do to get to where they want to get to, what their goals are for
Right.
that time period, that season, the next couple years out.
Nice. So what goes through your mind when you first get an athlete that comes in and you fit them and you coach them and you train them, and then they go through the actual event and then they cross the finish line? What is that experience like?
I think it's just as exciting for me every single time one of our athletes crosses the finish line as it is for them. It's really a life-changing moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving me goosebumps thinking about it.
It's really it is. It's life-altering, life-changing, and the impact that something like that could have on their life really affects all aspects of their life beyond just the athletic aspect. It's I set this goal, I trained for it, I
Right.
put everything into it, and I accomplished it. We find sometimes people are like, I didn't think I could go to college, or I didn't think I could live on my own, I didn't
Right.
think I could still be a father to my son. We can go for a bike ride together. So those sort of life skills are kind of taught through athletics.
It's kind of interesting that we take that, well, at least I take that, I can't speak for everyone, for granted, right? You don't think about it on a daily basis. And it's amazing to see the work that you do. What's also interesting is the funding aspect, because prosthetics are not inexpensive. So typically, how does somebody get funded for a sports prosthetic?
Typically your insurance company will cover your everyday legs, is what we call it. But a triathlete has their everyday leg that they walk around on. They'll have their biking leg, they'll have their running leg.
Okay.
Typically they don't swim with any prosthetic on. So these legs can range anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000 depending on what they are. And most insurance companies are not covering those.
Repeat that. Most insurance companies are not paying for the sports prosthetics.
That's correct.
So that's what you guys partially do, is help fund that equipment.
We do. There are organizations like Dare Try out there that are set up to provide athletes with grants. There are grant funding
Perfect.
organizations that will purchase a running leg, a racing wheelchair, an adaptive bicycle, whatever it may be. Our organization also has several adaptive hand bikes, tandem bikes, racing wheelchairs that we're able to lend to our athletes for
That's
their
nice.
opportunity to
Yeah.
try it, to train. Sometimes when they get further down the road, they say, okay, I'm ready
Yeah.
to buy my own, or to fundraise to buy my own, or to apply for a grant.
Love it.
And then we work very closely with Sheck and Cyrus here. Our team's prosthetist, Dave Rotter, has been extremely generous with our athletes and kind of figuring out any way he possibly can to help them get a running leg or a running blade or whatever.
Have you ever?
We get creative.
You have to, right? When
Sure.
you can't figure it out, you have to kind of navigate the channels until you get there. Have you ever ran into an experience where someone couldn't get funded?
Yeah, a lot of times.
So what happens?
Well, we'll do our best to let them borrow a piece of program equipment. So,
Okay.
the piece of equipment that we have kind of in our storage. We run a program on Thursday afternoons down at 31st Street Marina, right on Lakeshore Drive. We keep 2 storage pods full of adaptive equipment there. So anybody that just wants to try it can come down. We had a woman who came out. She's less than a year post-injury. She was injured in a boating accident. She's incomplete quadriplegic. She was a big runner before,
Wow.
and wasn't really sure what wheelchair running was all about, wheelchair racing, and was able to come out and try a piece of equipment that we happen to have that's ours. And it didn't fit her perfectly, but we adapt. That's what we do.
Yes.
And so get her in there and give her the feeling of being active again and getting out there, and can provide her with that piece of equipment to train on and to compete on until she gets to the point where she says, this is what I want to do, and either purchases her own or applies for a grant to get help with one.
Amazing. The things that Dare to Try, what you guys are doing is incredible. Let everyone know how they can get involved with Dare to Try.
Sure, Dare Try is always looking for volunteers to get involved that will run, bike, and swim alongside our athletes, help them cross their first finish line. Always looking for funders, for donors, for cheerleaders. So you can check out our website at Dare to Try, DARE, the number 2, TRI.org. And our motto is one inspires many. So we believe that by being out there and showing people what individuals with disabilities are capable of, we're kind of inspiring the community at large.
Perfect. Carrie Schindler, everybody. So before Carrie goes, everybody, what we do with each show is we like to do a studio audience Q&A. So if anybody has a question for Carrie, now would be your chance. It looks like Roman has one. So
The organization reached out to any survivors from the Boston Marathon bombing?
One of our Dare to Try athletes, Haley Danisevich, actually joined a group of wounded warriors with Team Semper Fi that went and visited the newly injured amputees in Boston. There were several females that were injured, and they really wanted another female to come and kind of talk with the women. And so Haley spent a day just traveling to the different rehab hospitals and meeting with the different women and answering their questions, everything from, how do you wear high heels to tell me about your running and showering and all sorts of life questions. And I think she really made some relationships and contacts with those women that, as they go down this journey into their new life, their new normal, as some people refer to it, they'll have her as a resource. And I think she was a great inspiration to them to show them what she's done with, with her disability and what they may be able to accomplish too.
That's awesome.
So it's actually a 3-part question. One, do you only train people for triathlons? 2, how many disabled people, I guess, are in the program right now? And 3, if you want to volunteer, do you have to be a triathlete, or if you have a Schwinn 1970 bicycle, can you bike alongside them as well?
We'll actually train athletes to compete in the swim, the bike, or the run portion of a triathlon. So we'll put relay teams together if somebody is not a swimmer but they would like to run or bike. I also have an amputee running group called the Blade Runners, and I think 14 amputees competed in a local 5K this past weekend. And so we do community events like that as well. The second question was, we currently have 130 athletes in the Chicagoland area, ranging in age from 7 years old all the way up to, I would say, 68, 69 years old that are involved in the program. And not everybody competes. Some people just train and just want to be recreational athletes, and others. We've got 12 athletes that we're taking to the national championships this weekend. They'll compete in Austin, Texas on Monday.
For more Q&A, go to our bonus footage section on our website. Stay tuned for our next guest, Melissa Stockwell. So before we get started, this is the latest edition of People Magazine, which I do frequent often, and our guest is on the second page. And also, before we get started, I think Melissa has a few shout-outs that she wants to give. So Melissa,
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
All right, a few quick shout-outs. Number 1, I'd like to thank 2 of our Dare to Try athletes. Sherry Lynn and Sean are here tonight, so thank you. And second, the lovely guest who was up here ahead before me, and my best friend and co-founder, Carrie Schindler, did not mention that, hold on, her fiance is also in the audience, Larry Sirota, and they are getting married in a week and a half.
Beautiful. That was the best way to start this interview. So, Melissa, you told your dad when you were younger that you wanted to join the Army. See, I can't fathom that. Tell me why you wanted and had a desire to join the Armed Forces.
It's a pretty short answer. I love our country. I grew up at a young age realizing the freedoms that we have here, the American flag, the red, the white, and the blue, what that stood for. Love of red, white, and blue turned into love of flag, turned into love of country, and before long, if anyone asked what I wanted to be when I grow up, it was always I wanted to be in the Army. I wanted to be a patriot. I wanted to wear the uniform.
That's amazing. Was it hard being a female in that type of environment?
You know, no. So I did ROTC in college, and there are many other, I mean, females are the minority. There's many more males, but you have your camaraderie. You all wear the same uniform. When I was commissioned into the military, I became part of the Transportation Corps, which is a service support branch. So there's more females in that branch of the military, but it is still the minority. But still, I mean, in my mind, we wore the same uniform, we did the same job. I never had any instances that would make me feel like I had it any different, any easier, any harder. It was just, we all did what we had to do.
You're all there for the one purpose of protecting our country. Mad respect for them. So let's go back to April 13th, 2004. What happened?
April 13th, 2004, a day that I'll never forget. It was the last day I ever stood on my own two legs. And I was over deployed to Baghdad, Iraq, and on a routine convoy really through central Baghdad. My vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb, and to make what could be a long story really short, resulted in the loss of my left leg above the knee. And I call the remaining part of my leg little leg, so little leg was born. We celebrated birthdays. But I mean, a day that really changed my life. What could have been for the worst 9 years later has turned out to be for the better. And yeah, I mean, I'm very proud above the knee amputee. I'm a very proud patriot. I love our country just as much as I ever have, and it all kind of worked out.
What really went through your head? That's my phone too. What really, Melissa, went through your head when the Humvee ran over the IED?
You know, I was conscious through it all, so I remember a lot of it. And I mean, you hear these horror stories of people who lose their, who give the ultimate sacrifice and lose their lives. Other soldiers that have been injured previously, and you never think it's going to happen to you. So when the roadside bomb went off and the vehicle, I know now, ended up crashing into this Iraqi woman's house, and combat medic 2 vehicles back comes up and pulls me out of the Humvee and lays me there. And I never for a minute thought that my leg was gone, because that just seemed too serious. No, I was awake the whole time. Nobody told me. I never asked if it was gone. Did it hurt? Yes, but not how you would think of pain that you had just lost your leg. In the incident between the blast from the IED and this guardrail that we hit, it was separate, so it was gone immediately. So lucky for me, combat medic, started first aid right away, put a tourniquet on. I was rushed into an American hospital in central Baghdad and life-saving surgery, and then I found out that it was gone when I woke up from that surgery.
How did you tell your family?
That's a tough one. You know, I'm the youngest daughter. I'm the youngest child of my parents. I'm sure the worst nightmare was their youngest daughter going off to war and then getting a call that they had been seriously wounded. And when I woke up from that surgery in Baghdad, the surgeon actually handed me a phone and said, "Do you want to call your mom?" So of course I did, and you know, all the excitement from her on the other end of the line that she was talking to me because I had been deployed, and I had to kind of stop her real quick and say, "Mom, something bad happened." And when I told her, I don't remember much other than someone took the phone away from me and then continued to tell her. So I'm sure it's a parent's worst thing.
And how is she dealing with it today?
The parents are phenomenal. You know, I think when you go through such a life-changing accident, such a traumatic instance, you really lean on each other. I mean, they were by my side from day one. We went through Germany, then on to Walter Reed, and they were by my side as soon as they could be. And when I needed reassurance, they reassured me. When they needed reassurance, I reassured them. So you kind of work as a family. That's what you are. And they're pretty phenomenal.
The family component, a very interesting thing for you to say, because when we interviewed and you saw the video of Tammy Duckworth, she said you came and visited her in the hospital and gave her hope, gave her support, gave her some knowledge. What inspired you to say, I went through this experience, now I'm going to give back to people that are recent amputees?
You have to. I mean, that's how I got through. I got to Walter Reed, and you see these other soldiers that are there also, and some that have been there for a month ahead of you, 2 months ahead of you, and they're the ones that give you that confidence and that motivation. You see them, and they're up and they're walking, and you say, okay, in a month, I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Right.
And it gives you perspective. You look around, and I'm missing one leg, and there's other soldiers missing 2 limbs, 3 limbs. traumatic brain injuries lost their eyesight, and so I thought of myself as one of the lucky ones very early on. So Walter Reed is a very powerful place, so why wouldn't I give back? Why wouldn't I try to walk in with my prosthetic leg into a room of a family who had just had a similar instance happen to their daughter and try to tell them that things would be okay?
Did you ever suffer from PTSD?
Thankfully, no. I mean, very early on in the hospital, loud noises, whatnot, but thousands of soldiers do. And it's one of the unseen wounds of war that it's a very serious issue. And thankfully, it's not affected my day-to-day life, but it does affect a lot of people.
So you made this incredible journey to protecting our country's freedom, to having an accident, and then all the way to swimming at the Beijing Paralympics. When you probably jumped in the pool, you probably had too much adrenaline going on to know what was happening. But when you got out of the pool, how did you feel?
So in Beijing, I swam in 3 events. And my first event, it was just like you said. I walked up, there was 20 of my family and friends. They made this huge trip to Beijing. They had a flag that said, "Go Little Leg" on it, that I would look up and see in the sand. And I jumped in. It was 100 free was my first event, and I just freaking went, and I died. I got to the wall, and I had my worst time I'd had in months. And I got out, and I could have cared less. I was so excited. I looked up in the stands. It wasn't going to be my main race anyways. I saw my family and friends, and I was representing the USA, and it's kind of what I thought the whole experience was going to be. So, I mean, Beijing didn't really go as I planned as far as swimming went and winning a medal and doing well, but the whole experience overall, I wouldn't change it.
That's amazing. You're also an ESPY nominee.
Right.
We have some sports fans. Past ESPY nominee, not current, okay. You definitely have some sports fans in the audience. Who's the coolest athlete that you've met throughout your journey?
Well, so the ESPYs, I apologize if this offends anyone, but I'm not huge into I know sports, but not like the big names. So my lovely boyfriend Brian went with me, and he would kind of point everybody out, and he'd say, "Hey,
there's Michael Jordan."
That's so much fun. Who's the guy who plays for?
It was me, Tim Tebow, and Jason Kidd.
Yeah. You Tim Tebow. I know Tim Tebow.
What do I know Tim Tebow is?
All right.
On the dance floor, I ended up falling, and that doesn't happen much, a little bit, but I fell, and someone would jump. Aaron Rodgers jumped in. It was really embarrassing.
Did you do a discount double check? Were you like, ooh?
No, I shouldn't have. No, I just got up and walked away quickly. But yeah.
So you met a lot of cool people
It's been good.
that you don't really know. We had a question earlier about Boston, and I thought that was a really good, very timely, relevant question. So good question, Roman. But with the recent tragedy in Boston, what advice can you give people that recently lose their limb to get back on track in order to continue living their, as you guys said, your new life?
To stay optimistic. It's really hard to do, but to realize that things do get better. I mean, you go through these really traumatic instances. Anybody with a physical disability, the most recent episode in Boston, but you lay in your hospital bed and you wonder what your life will be. Will you walk again? Will you run again? And you have to believe that you will. And you have to surround yourselves with family and friends that want you to get better and want you to get back out there being independent and living life. And you need to take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there and presented to you. Opportunities that organizations are just dying to take you out of your hospital room and give you the chance to do something that you don't think you can do anymore.
Right.
So with their organizations, the Wounded Warrior Project, Challenge Athletes Foundation, here in Chicago, Dare to Try, and just letting us show you what you're still capable of. So taking those opportunities and just learning that life does go on.
I was going to say, how do you stay optimistic? It must be such a tragic event that happens, and you never expect to lose any of your limbs. I mean, how do you mentally stay there? What tools did you have to mentally stay focused that you're going to say, I'm going to get back up and walk again?
Walter Reed, I can't say enough good things about the power of Walter Reed and how that really kind of pushes you to move forward and keep going. But you also have to realize that, I mean, I accepted early on that my leg was gone. It's not going to grow back anytime soon unless someone can show me how. But so I really accepted the loss early on, and that really helps you move forward. You learn to live with what you don't have instead of trying to live with what you wish you still had. So it's kind of this mental game, and I mean, there's really, in my mind, there was no other option. I didn't want to live in the past. I couldn't go back and do it again. It was pointless for me to say, what if this, what if that, because I couldn't go back. So I might as well move forward.
Yeah, it kind of that applies to really life in general. You can't just want something and want something. You got to be present and live in the moment. So you've done some amazing things. I'm sure you have a bucket list. What are some things left on your bucket list that you want to check off?
Well, this November I'm going to be attempting my first Ironman. So if you're a triathlete, an Ironman is a very large. So that's a big one on the bucket list. A lot of athletics. I mean, I feel like I live a life of athletics. I love the way that sports makes me feel, and being able with Dare to Try to see our athletes get to the starting line and the finish line, and really being able to give back that way. So. I mean, on the bucket list is to, keep inspiring those that are newly injured or want that inspiration to get to that starting line to help them do just that. And I mean, really to stay happy. I mean, life is short, and a lot of us know that, maybe more than others, but just to be happy.
Just to be happy. Melissa Stockwell, everybody. So before you take off, would you mind answering a few questions from a studio audience?
That would be wonderful.
Hi. So I was wondering, in the hospital we see the development of phantom limb pain in a lot of the amputees. So I was wondering if you've personally experienced this, and then as an organization, do you guys feel that movement or being really active helps this type of pain?
So I did phantom limb pain. I mean, it's pretty common within, especially with traumatic amputees, and I mean, I felt it just as much as anybody else. And it's not fun. It's a very real thing. I mean, you feel your foot that's no longer there. It has these shooting pains through it, and it's really frustrating because it's no longer there. Why am I feeling it? And as time goes on, it really gets better. There's medication out there you can take, and tried that. And personally, I found that just time was kind of the answer to it. But as being active, I mean, I think so. I don't know if it's been proven scientifically, but anything to get your mind off of the limb that's no longer there, or that pain that you're feeling, to kind of get your mind off of that and to get out there and to do something, I mean, I think absolutely. I think athletics can help with phantom pain. It can help with confidence issues. It can really help with everything in life. So hasn't been proven, but I would say it can't hurt.
This question is for Carrie or Melissa, but I wanted to know, because I think Sean and I know as Dare to Try athletes what Dare to Try means to us, but I wanted to know what is the best part for you of being able to really watch us go from start to finish and watching us grow. How does that change you?
The best part, I think I can speak for both Carrie and myself. The best part for us is you guys, as our athletes. I mean, we saw you out the very first time getting in that hand cycle, that racing chair, and we saw you push, and we see you out there last Thursday and going around that path and doing as well as you do. And Sean, your first 5K. I mean, Sean here ran his first 5K last year as an above-the-knee amputee. And talk about rewarding for Carrie and I. We had this organization. We want to get athletes into athletics, and suddenly you have athletes like these two who are doing just what we wanted them to do. They are inspiring others out there on the course and in life, overall in life. So what's most rewarding for us is seeing athletes like yourself succeed and trying, and actually not only trying, but succeeding in it. And it's very moving for us. So.
With the whole concept of pride, I wanted to ask you, when you were first an amputee and you first got the prosthetic on, sometimes with injuries it's hard to accept help. You know, being an individual, you kind of want to do things on your own and you don't want help from anyone. How did you kind of get over that and kind of accepting help from others?
I don't even know how to answer that. That's a really good question. How do you get over your pride and accept help? I mean, it probably happened. I mean, from the day that I lost my leg, I mean, I needed help, whether it was physically, like helping me early on, helping me from my wheelchair into my hospital bed. I couldn't physically do it on my own. Or the days, or the not so much days, but moments where I needed someone to tell me that things were going to be okay. whether you accept it or not, you get it. So you just choose to do with it what you want, I think. And as time went on and as the months went on, and I knew I wanted to be independent again, that's what everyone's goal was. You kind of learn just to wean off of that. And I think, I mean, even now, 9 years later, if I have if I'm, you know, trying to think about, if I'm worrying about something I shouldn't be worrying about, and someone tells me not to worry about it, well, then I'm using that, I'm taking that advice, and I'm using it. So I think you use the help that you need, just in different ways.
To see more of the Q&A, please go to our bonus footage section on our website. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with an amazing performance from David Persina. Welcome back to the Scott Emo Show. Without further ado, David Persina.
Good evening. I'm your patron saint for disappointment. Just trying to sort through what you resent. She keeps reminding me that nothing is permanent. Well, all in all, I'm calling money well spent. I trace it back to the source. Ignore the warnings and let things take their course. I talk too much and I go hoarse. We'll open up the floodgates, we're leaving up the score. And I'm sorry, my sweet. And I'm trying to figure out what it takes to just be happy, stand on my own 2 feet. Don't I make it look easy? The tip of the hat of a weaker than I. But then the moments pass you by. I compliment your dress and you'll notice my tie. But a good betrayal starts with a thin white lie. So wash your face and walk out the door. She roamed and fought, she couldn't need you anymore. I make mistakes like ones before. Trying to please everyone leaves everybody sore. And I'm sorry, my sweet. And I'm trying to figure out what it takes to just be happy, stand on my own 2 feet. Don't I make it look easy? Well, I'm out of time and I'm out of gun. I was only looking for a little bit of fun. So come on home, my little one. Hey, stick close to me, we only just begun. And I'm sorry, my sweet. And I'm trying to figure out what it takes to just be happy, stand on my own 2 feet. Don't I make it look easy? Yeah.
each and every one of you for coming out and supporting us.
Already the show goes on all night till the morning. We dream so long. Anybody ever